Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Survival Minecraft. Today we actually built the village. Because last time I said that was what I was going to do, but then I got distracted by the trials chamber, which honestly didn't quite go as well as expected. As well as I hoped, rather. It kind of went exactly as expected, but we'll be going back there later when we are better geared. But for now, we are deciding what to do with the village. And I think honestly the first thing I'm going to do is just get rid of this pen here, because so far it's just keeping, you know, these bundles of wheat from escaping. And this clearly is just making sure that this water stays exactly where it is, so aside from that, pretty much useless, so those two can go. I don't really have a need for putting animals here, because there's no buildings here to make it make sense, so those two are gonna go. I'm kind of envisioning, actually, you can probably see I've kind of very slightly mapped out some pathways here, with the idea being these are going to be the actual paths that I make once things progress, once I get more buildings in place, once I get things closer to what I want them to be like. And we've got a pathway heading out here to this wooden plank here. It's not exactly a pier because this was connected to another land piece that I've since demolished. But I am going to make this into a pier, so I'm going to raise this slightly, turn it into half slabs and like have supporting pillars, because I kind of think with this being what it is, a body of water essentially, it would make sense that people would come here to fish. It's just a thing that makes sense. And I've also decided, considering that in the story that I'm making up for this village, people would have initially come through from the desert. They would have come through from this side as opposed to the other places. Because on this side over there we have water, on this side we have water. I don't quite know what's to the south. Just, you know, more desert and a bit of grassland and everything else. So I'm kind of envisioning that people would have come here first through this mass desert. They would have been so glad to see actual grass everywhere, actual fertile land, that they would have been so happy they would have immediately started building houses right here. So that's what we're gonna go with. The first house is on the edge of this village, being here. I don't mind. I might change what the buildings actually are though, in all honesty. Because if this was the initial creation of the village, I don't think they would have immediately made a tanning station for like leatherworking, and I don't think they would have had a butcher's building be one of the first three they did. You know, like they come here and the first thing they think is, oh, you know what, we need somewhere to cure leather and make meat. Essentially, these first three I'm going to change into residential buildings. I don't even mind if they're double floored as opposed to singles. I don't mind that so much, but I need to decide what I'm doing with them design-wise and, of course, palette-wise, because although I could very easily just keep them as cobblestone and oak wood, not only is that kind of cheating because it's not really doing anything new to them, the fact that I've made the church out of sandstone and acacia, you can see it doesn't quite match the aesthetic anymore. I don't think I'm going to make everything sandstone and acacia, because that, again, wouldn't quite fit, but we'll see what I come up with. As far as this place goes, this is obviously where the sheep are. I'm going to close that door real quick. This is where the tailor would be living, and I don't know if I want this to be here. I might turn this, if I'm making this into a pier, turning this into some kind of fishing shack might be the way forward for this. Because then you've got like a small hut here you can use to get your fishing stuff, that you can use to then go up and fish, and then you come back and you sell your fish, you get your money, and then you go about your life. Or you keep the fish because you might want to take care of it yourself at your own house or whatever. So that's the plan for that. Turn that into like a fishing lodge. Then we have the pathway leading up here, coming down this way, which splits off one way over to my house over there. And then the second one comes over here to currently nothing. But my plan is for this area to turn this into a sort of mining center, because there's a massive hole down here, which incidentally I had nothing to do with. This was just here. This was already here. It was like this when I arrived, I promise. So there's that. And then I also have another pathway up here, which I've kind of put coming from the church, leading over this way. And there's something I want to do with this as well. I kind of want to dig this down into the ground, and I want to have it come out the other side. of this over here, because eventually what I want to have happen is I want to turn this side into a port, and then we can have ships coming in from here before going back out into the ocean. I think that's a fantastic idea. So there's a lot of stuff that I want to do for this village, but as with all things, one step at a time. So if this is the direction that people would have first come into this village, I think there needs to be a house either on this side or this side. Maybe even both, but honestly, I'm going to build here first, because otherwise I'm going to have to move the pig pen, and that's a lot more work. Plus, at this point, let's be honest, we're just kind of deciding on palette here. Whether or not it makes sense to build everything out of sandstone, or cobblestone, or maybe regular stone, or what wood would suit best, because there's actually quite a big choice here to be made. Although I do have it, there isn't any dark oak trees around here. We have oak here, we got a few more oak trees over there. Up on that hill over there, we do have some acacia, and there's also some acacia trees up there. Although, there's nothing to say that they brought the dark oak with them, like I did. In fact, now that I think about it, that's the direction that I came from. That's the direction that I entered this village from, because I ran across the village, fell in the water, and there was a husk coming over this way, and I ran to the golem over there. So, weirdly, am I just making my story here without realizing it? I guess I kind of am. So in that case, yeah, definitely we're going to be putting the first house here. The only question that remains is, what are we going to use to build it? Because it would be very easy to make everything out of sandstone and acacia, because we have the sand here that they could have used for the first houses, and there are acacia trees up over the hill there. So that would make sense, but there's also oak trees here. So maybe we use sandstone and oak, but then they're very similar. That's not sandstone. They're very similar in color when you compare it to acacia. There's a bit more of a contrast there. I kind of feel like, as much as I hate to admit it, oak and cobblestone does kind of work, but I want to try something other than that. So what we're going to do is we're going to see if we can make a house work with oak and sandstone. Maybe reverse it. So instead of having the sandstone be the supporting pillars, instead of sandstone being the accents, the sandstone becomes the main block, becomes like the acacia is here. Maybe that's what we do instead. Maybe that's the plan. In which case it would be like that, and then that's got a double door system, but I don't really want to have double doors. So we'll just do this. I mean, so far it doesn't look terrible. Gotta think about windows as well, though. So we'll do that. Do this. That's where the door goes. Wow, those are big windows. What would it look like from the inside? It's pretty much the exact same, just reversed. Wow, I'm stupid. Not gonna lie, not really in love with this design. I do like the look of this a little bit better. Maybe it was because the windows were on the very edge and they were touching the corner piece that was kind of throwing me off. But I do like removing one of the windows so we can centralize both things. There is a part of me that's thinking, if you're going to have corner pieces like this, it should be the actual logs. So I might go and grab some of those and see what that does to the look. But generally speaking, I'm liking the look of that. Annoyingly, that does look good. Using the oak logs does make it look better than just the planks. I think we have a winner for the base palette, although I am quickly realizing that I'm going to need a lot more sandstone than I've actually created. Goodbye, desert. Also, as a side note, just in case anybody was curious as to whether or not that baby villager became a farmer, he did not. We have 4 leather workers in a village that has a population of 5. 4 of them. 4. Why do we need 4 leather workers? Why do we need 4 leather workers? I don't get it. Pick a different job, man. I've put a roof on it, and I'm liking this in principle. But this front feels too open. Like there's something else that needs to go here. I'm wondering what would happen if I were to put something at the front of the door here, like some fences or something, so I can make like a second awning. to go over the front, but then would that block the window? I guess there's only one way to find out. That looks a bit better. I still think there should be something here. I don't know what. Over on these buildings, they have the logs going across to kind of create a separating divide. Have I got any oak left? I do. What would it look like if across the middle, so this bit here, what would it look like if I used stripped oak logs? How would that turn out? That's... no, that doesn't really do anything. Maybe if I make these also stripped? So it doesn't stand out as much, maybe? I don't know. That doesn't seem right to me. I'll be honest, though. I do kind of like that a bit more than I did with the regular logs. So maybe strip logs are the way forward with these builds. You know what? I'll come back to this later. This is going to be a future problem, unless I make the roof smaller. Maybe I make the roof smaller. I think we have our winning design. I think this is a great mix of colors, from the dark oak to the acacia to the sandstone to the oak. I love this. And of course, the acacia floor. Always a winner, in my eyes. If you've got an acacia floor, you're automatically cool, if you ask me. But this is a good house. I need to strip these logs down on the back here to complete the look. But I think this is the palette I'm going to be going for the basic houses. So I need to change this. Maybe change the shape of that as well. I don't think I'm going to replicate the exact look. I want the buildings to have slight variance between them, even though this... Wow, this is a small room. And even though this place is very tiny, I do want to have some variance. So that's the basic palette, but the overall design of the houses, I think I'm going to do different for most of them. I'm going to move this place. This is going to become a regular house. This is going to become a regular house, but a double-story version. And then I don't know where I'm going to be putting all these blocks. Maybe if I get rid of all these cauldrons, I won't have so many damn leather workers. Yeah, I'm talking to you. And then we can just go ahead with redesigning the rest of the village. That's already got stripped oak, so just replacing that with sandstone would be super easy. So with that in mind, I think this is a good place to enter a time lapse. See you on the other side. Even after finishing just these three houses, I think this is a perfect example of how color matters, of how changing the color palette of a building can make all the difference. Yes, I've made slight tweaks to them, like this one here. I've lowered the roof and made it more curved to match this one over here. And with this building, I've made the upstairs section slightly longer by 2 blocks. But aside from those changes, the only thing I've done is change the blocks used. Changed the overall color of the buildings. And it's made them look so much better. Which fills me with excitement because it makes me believe that, hey, once I'm done with this village, it's gonna look pretty good. Speaking of, we should carry on with phase 2. And we are done with not only the pier, but the fishing shack as well, which, as you may notice, is not on land anymore. It's on the water, which to me makes a little bit more sense. The only issue is, by moving the shack from the land to the water, I've created all this extra space to play with. And I don't know what I'm going to put here instead. I have no idea what to do with this. I don't know if this is the kind of thing that I just leave open. If I just put some random things down the outside. Like, maybe I could do that. Maybe I could put some random things like barrels and stuff around the edges here. Kind of fill it up a little bit. Putting another building here isn't going to work because there's not enough space to put a building here now, ironically. But I can definitely do something with it. That's just going to have to be a future problem. Speaking of future problems, this. I built this to be a meeting area for the villagers to come to. You know how, like, at the end of the day, they congregate around the bell for an hour or two in-game before going off to bed? I built this as a nice place for them to come and just chill and hang out as opposed to just an empty patch of grass. But I'm not really liking it overall. The idea, I like the idea. The idea is good. But at this point, I don't know if my issue is the color or the design of it. I'm not happy with it. It needs work. So again, this is a future problem. If I'm being entirely honest with you, I built this area with the sole purpose of being able to put a lectern down, for public speaking reasons, so I could get a librarian, because librarians give enchants, and I want mending. Because truth be told, while I was doing all this, I went to get some more diamond from the mines under my house, and I now have enough to craft a full set of armor, and weapons, and tools. So I'd really like mending about now. You might have noticed as well that I've made a couple of changes to my house. And the reason for this is because I was honestly getting slightly annoyed with having to traverse the entire garden area every time I wanted to enter or leave my house. Leaving was the bigger problem because if I stepped slightly off block, I'd be breaking crops when I fell from here to here and then down to the potato area. So I thought, we should change this. We should make this easier for me to live a stress-free life without accidentally destroying crops. So that's what I did. I redesigned my house, gave it a deck, and made access much easier. I have also made this area under here that I don't quite know what to do with. I've put a smoker here for some reason. Maybe I have this idea of turning it into a barbecue area, but that just kind of seems like a fire hazard waiting to happen, if you ask me. And I think that'll just about do it for this episode. We've managed to do quite a bit when you think about it. We've rebuilt the first 3 houses in the village. We've added a 4th one. We've rebuilt the pier and added a fishing shack. We've also changed the entrance to my house, which I think we can all agree was priority number 1. As for what we're doing in the next one, I'm thinking it's time we built an iron farm because I'm getting tired of constantly making stone tools because they run out so quickly. And not to mention, we're going to need a bunch of iron for when we get to the point of making hoppers and different things for redstone machines, so making a ready source of iron early is an absolute must. And if not now, then when? And because of the way that I'm playing this currently, I want to make the iron farm inside of a building. Which means I need to figure out what kind of building I want to put it in, and where that building is going to go. I don't need as much space for an iron farm as I do a mob farm, which I'm also going to be building eventually. So I've got that going for me, which is nice. But I still need to figure out those 2 things. What it's going to be in, and where it's going. But that is not a problem for now, that is a problem for future me. And until then, I hope you've enjoyed this, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.